thank you for coming, everybody. I know the weather's really crap, but I wanted to welcome you to our first HULA Happenings event, and first of many, should I say, and I hope you guys will come to more of them later. I actually have personally been interested in the world of buying since, like, I ever worked in fashion. Oh, sorry. Yes. My voice is really loud. Yeah, since I've worked in fashion all my life. When I was in London, I had my own brand, and I was always trying to meet these guys. And they would ignore me half the time. And then later, I worked at Lane Crawford, where I had the opportunity to work side by side with them. And it still fascinated me, like, what they did, you know, when they came back from the trip and how they made their selection. And I thought, why not build a panel discussion around this and let you guys hear about some of their insider secrets. So I wanted to present 3 esteemed luxury fashion buyers and amazing women. Maggie Ginsra,
Yeah.
Senior VP of Fashion for DFS.
Yeah.
Lindsay Edwards, ready to wear.
Right.
I should have, because she's my best friend. Lindsay Edwards, ready to wear, buying manager at Miu Miu, and Sonny Leung, buying manager for women's wear at Lane Crawford. Thank you, girls, for coming tonight. Welcome to my couch.
Does this work?
I think you talked a little bit. Yeah, so I just wanted to, firstly, I think you guys could just introduce yourself and let everybody know, like, you know, a brief kind of like background and how you got into buying and fashion. Natalie?
Yeah. Hello everyone. So thank you for being part of the first HULA meeting. So I'm SVP Fashion for DFS. I've started my career here in Hong Kong more than 15 years ago at Lane Crawford. So I have very fond memories of it. I was setting up, I mean, most of you, I guess, do live here. Setting up Pacific Place, revamping IFC, opening the Beijing store. I moved on more than 5 years later to run the menswear department for the Parisian store Canton. So 18 stores in France, and then later on Yves Saint Porter, being more interested by the pure play online and how digitalization revolution basically my area of knowledge. So, and here I am back in Hong Kong. Yeah, I'm very happy seeing my old friends and sorry, not so old friends, and running an entity that has been there, a part of LVMH Group for the last 50 years, having an incredible lineup of brands and an ever-evolving environment. So.
Wow, how can I follow that? And my mic isn't really working, so
It's okay.
it's okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay. So I'm currently at Miu Miu buying ready-to-wear for Hong Kong. I'm very, very passionate about ready-to-wear, so I'm happy that in my journey I've ended up buying the thing that I really love. And I started off, I left university at like 18, and then I'd always wanted to study fashion and do fashion, and my mum said, no, get a degree. So I ended up studying classics and French, which is super random, and I never touched any of that. So I just thought I have to learn by experience. So I moved to Paris without a job and walked into Galeries Lafayette, which is the rival of Canton.
Thank you.
And I started walking around the different stands. I was so young and I didn't know anything, and I can't believe I did this. But I just said, I went on all the stands. Do you need a shop girl? And then I just, I don't know. I just lucked out. Basically, yeah. I totally lucked out. And then the Comme des Garçons stand, which is like the most amazing Japanese avant-garde brand in the world. One of the best, well, I think luxury brands in the world still. The lady must have took pity on me and said, okay, just we'll try you out. And that was the beginning of my fashion career, because what they do at Comme des Garçons is they ask the shop girls to actually go and do the buy for your shop or your corner. In this case, it was just a corner. So I entered through the field of buying kind of by mistake, but I just fell in love with it. The process of selection, and I guess I'm quite a decisive person, so it suited me in that way. I know what I want. And then I spent 2 years in Paris with them, and then they opened Dover Street Market in London, so the first Dover Street Market in the world. Now there's so many, I don't even know how many there are. So helped do the buying for that store, focusing on Comme des Garçons women's wear. And then, sorry, this is such a long story. And then the president of Onpeda, who works in Hong Kong, Peter Harris, was shopping at Dover Street and said,
I've been a girl too.
Would you like to come and work in Hong Kong as an accessories buyer?
And I think it chose you just because you look good.
I don't know. And at that time, I wanted to have a change, try a new country, and I thought, okay, all right. And then I had a lot of interviewing, so I flew over here for interviews. Met my boss, Judd Crane, who's an amazing man as well. He's was the CEO at HULA, and he was a great mentor as well. And yeah, I was with them for 3 years, a year at Joyce, and then Miu. So thank you, that's me.
So my journey is a bit different from theirs. I've been in love with fashion for as long as I can remember, and my
We
sister.
didn't say the opposite.
I guess I have a younger journey. So my sister has always been in love with fashion as well. We would love to dress up together. So then I went to NYU for fashion business, and my best friend here. So she also went to NYU with me too. So we both have a love for fashion. Where I started out was doing a lot of internships, and I think that's very important for anyone who wants to get into fashion. So I did an internship at Bergdorf's, and I fell in love with multi-brand buying. But at that time, the economy was really tough, so no one was really hiring. So luckily, I found an internship at Lombard, and then I started out in the New York office, transferred to the Hong Kong office, and then my true passion lied with multi-brand buying. So I was so happy to get the Lane Crawford job. I jumped over right away. Unfortunately, after these girls left, and then I've been there ever since then. And I'm now the buying manager for women's wear. Love everything about it, the traveling, seeing new products, deciding what you're going to wear before you guys know it. But it's been a really good journey.
So thank you. So that kind of brings me on to ask, how do you decide what goes into a collection? Like, this is a crazy job. And tell us how this works. I mean, Magdalene, for you, you're leading a team of different buyers across different categories of fashion.
Yeah.
So your role is obviously very different to Lindsay, who has a single brand for buying, and then Tawny, who's buying across for all of women's wear, contemporary, designer, and all the different categories. So I would love to find out, and I think these guys really want to hear how you actually do that.
So in my young age, I used to choose myself when I was young enough to do that, and it was an amazing process. I think for everyone here in the audience to understand, and my husband is here to testify, I'm not just picking up what I like. At least I didn't used to. I mean, we have a real strategy in place. We have to identify our customers first. We need to identify the sending. I mean, many things that you wouldn't even know, but we all know things about you guys. And now that I'm a little bit higher up in the hierarchy, I do trust my esteemed teams. They're all very experienced buyers. They all know their customers. They all know their businesses. They all know their regions. I mean, in the case of DFS, we have stores literally all over the world. They're constantly traveling, so it's first identifying the type of brands we're going after, the ones who lead the business, and currently the Gucci's, the Saint Laurent, the Balenciaga, and then digging in deeper in order to be a bit different from, our competitors, and trying to nurture new and upcoming brands. That's really what we're here for. So, but trusting, I mean, when you're a little bit higher up, it's really trusting your team, setting up the strategy, knowing what we're going for, knowing what we're going for in terms of categories also, what you guys will want to buy in the next 6 months. I mean, it's a long process. So whatever you're seeing store, we bought it, 6 months in advance. So it's a real strategy that everyone is putting in place before you even know it.
For me, I experienced both multi and mono brand, and I found that the approach is kind of different. Also because when I was doing multi-brand, especially on Peta, doing jewelry, watches, it was actually more creative. So I could be a little bit more adventurous, and actually really I guess have more fun with it. So I wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure they wanted me to have these huge strategies, but I didn't. I would buy what I loved, and I would try and set trends, inspire people, buy stories that you could display in a way that maybe people had never seen before, or make my own trends. I remember having one called Black Magic and Voodoo, because I saw all these weird like dolls that you would hang around your neck, and really weird stuff, which I guess really appealed to me. So that was when I was doing multi-brand, or even at Joyce. I mean, it's a very creative company, and they want to lead and inspire and set trends. So I found I also had the freedom to do that and work with young brands as well that maybe they didn't have their own strategy yet. So you help them to find that. And sometimes you can give them ideas. Okay, this is very interesting what you're doing, but do you want to try this? This could be more commercial, or maybe you could do volume if you do this. So that was also interesting process. And then now that I'm in the corporate world of Miu Miu, very much as Maggie said, following more strategy, planning well ahead, doing a lot of analysis to buy enough of the right styles that is selling. Check the rate that things, how fast things are selling, the pace that they're selling. So you're buying deep enough because you're buying for 6 months. So that stock has to last you. So there's a lot of numbers involved. Which is the less glamorous side.
It's not just shopping.
It's really, really not shopping. Everyone thinks it's shopping, but it's not. But I think it also depends on how you approach it, and there's always ways to have fun with it. For me, I need that in the way that I buy, otherwise I couldn't do this.
I think it's the same for me still. No? It's about being creative within the strategy, and not only being creative, but being able to be curated enough so you have a strong point of view for your customers. That's very important.
Yeah. So taking off that point, us as well, when we plan, we think of customer first. So think how we want to take our sales according to what the customer has reacted to this season, and which brands we want to grow, which brands we want to decrease based on what's working and what's not. And we start to, it's like a supermarket list, we start to build budgets based on brands, and then we go out to market to see exactly how we want to spend our money, what categories we're going to buy, what trends we're going to buy. And we try very hard to find a good balance between what's going to sell really well for us, so depth drivers, and what's going to be a touch, so the trends, the evening, the harder to sell pieces, the pieces that will really build the dream, and get the customer attracted to come in and look at the other items as well. So it's all about the customer, but still trying to keep a good brand concept, trying to be directional at the same time, and just find a good balance.
Thanks. So talking about going out to market, what is it really like at Fashion Week?
Holidays.
dressing up, isn't it?
I
And
wish.
getting cut.
I wish. It's long days. I mean, it depends, but it's about, yes, going on fashion weeks, going to fashion shows, and jumping into showrooms, and keeping your customers in mind when you go to showrooms, and when you go to fashion shows. It's really fast-paced. I think people don't realize most of the time it's 7 days a week for usually a good month. I mean, Fashion Week kicks in with New York, and then you roll on into Milan, London, Paris. So if you have multi-genders, so men's, women's wear, it's like 4 times a year, and then it adds up with crews and so on. So it's very fast-paced. It's much more frenetic than what people do think of us as buyers, versus press, for example. But I think when you love your area of business, just do it and you just make it happen. So. And it is glamorous in a way. I mean, you're traveling. I mean, let's face it, you're traveling in the most sought after countries. You're going to New York, going to Paris, going to London, going to Milan, meeting all those creative minds, seeing beautiful products, you know, each season, and it is exciting still.
Multi-brand.
For us as well, it's also very busy and very packed. Usually when I go on trips, my friends are like, oh, you're going to New York again, oh, you're going to Paris, oh, you're going on holiday. It's all fun and games to them, but for us, before we go on trip, there's a lot of preparation. We have to prepare all the figures, all our supermarket lists, and when we're on trip, it's back-to-back appointments. So I usually do around 10 to 15 appointments a day, just jumping in and out between my teams. And we also do business meetings, we do fashion shows, and then after we finish our day, we just have to make sure everything at the office is okay. So it's quite packed, but I would say it's the best experience ever. I love traveling, so I wouldn't want to do any other job. And I love seeing product, just touching, feeling it, and understanding what's the concept behind what the designer designed this season, knowing the fits, the fabrics, and how the customer would react to the product once it gets off floor. So it's a very good and busy experience.
So would you say, like I was going to ask you, like what's the best and worst thing about this job? So is it the travel, or is it the glamour, or
Is it? I think the best thing is meeting people. I mean, it's always about an interaction with creative minds, and that's where I get my energy from. Being with your team, that's your most precious element, and you know, meeting other creative minds. The worst is probably missing your family when you're on trip, and missing friends and families, because you're on the roads a substantial amount of the year. So.
I think the experiences that I've had, the people that I met, especially when I was meeting young designers themselves, they would be there right in the showroom talking through the collection, or when I was really starting out, we would, when I was working at Comme des Garçons, we would be in the showroom presented with the collection, and then, I don't know if she still does this, but Raquel Cooper would actually present the collection, and she's such a genius, and to even be standing that close to her and have her explain what was going on in her mind. You know, like this collection was inspired by circles, and literally you could take apart every garment and it was indeed a circle. So for me that was very, I will take that with me to the grave. It's really amazing. And being at Joyce, meeting like Christopher Kane, Jun Takahashi, and you know, hanging out, it's kind of amazing.
yeah, for both of you, like Lindsay's already answered this actually, who's the most kind of like, you know, inspiring person or people that you've met during your travels?
I think it's a really hard question, because I met so many creative talents, so I would go back to my And that's way back to my St. Martin School era when I was studying. Actually, McQueen was one of my tutor, and I think to me it set up, the bar really, really high in terms of what fashion represents, dream, creativity. His shows were so theatrical that I still have it in my mind every time I go to a show. So yeah, I mean, I'm relating to Lindsay's point is the creative minds that you get to meet, Mr. Alaya, Saint Laurent. I mean, all those people have contributed throughout my career to keep me inspired. And you have the young generation, the J.W. Anderson. I mean, people that are probably a little bit more business driven than just creatives, but still, I mean, equally inspiring in this era about how do they take on digitalization and how do they see the future of fashion going into.
For me, it's also meeting designers and just being in the same room with such creative minds. One of the designers I met that I loved was Albert Baz. He was just so inspirational, and he just made me want to dream. And every time he said something, it just sounded like a poem and a love story. And I really, truly think he loves women, and he just wants women to feel great and just dream. On the other side, another person who I've met who also has been equally inspiring is Andrew Rosen, who used to head up Theory. I just find his brain, he works so fast, very business oriented. He knows exactly what he needs to grow the business. He knows where he's going to grow. He knows every component of his business. So that's the thing I like about fashion retail is just the mix of creativeness and business together.
So thanks. I mean, you talked about actually Albert. I think it was amazing. I know what you mean. So cuddly. Yeah. You talked a bit about technology and how brands are thinking about this. So how do you think, what have you seen change in the last 10 years? And technology has obviously been a big enabler of this change, and how has that affected fashion?
I mean, it's
And
hard
what
to
you guys
say,
do
but in many ways, I mean, from my previous job, I mean, the pure play online going into the game, so you guys actually not touching and feeling your product, but you're just ordering them from your bed or from home, I mean, has been a huge revolution. Sometimes saving times to people who, sometimes can't just go to a shop, but also the easiness of the entire process of it. The see now, buy now has been another one. I mean, in so many ways, digitalization has been, powerful and intricate in our future. So, and I think it has still a long way to go, in my opinion.
And I think social media has completely changed the way we shop and has given a platform for younger designers to really showcase who they are, what they're doing. And that's why we see an uptick of a lot of direct-to-consumer brands. And I think it's a really freeing initiative, and it really gives the microphone to the people, and just to have anyone who has a creative mind to really allow them to express themselves. I also think digitalization affects our customer experience. So I was in the Nike store in New York, and everything was digital. It was amazing. So every step of the store, you could use your phone, scan the barcode, and then just get whatever you need. They could run metrics on your body and give you the right recommendation for what sports bra or what legging to use. So it's just completely changed the in-store experience as well. So it's
I mean, like talking about the future, it brings me to ask about sustainability, because obviously that's what we do. And with sustainable fashion brands, why do you think it's taken so long for this to be cool? Like, it's been around for at least a decade, but it's only now that luxury brands are really taking this seriously. Why do you think that is?
Well, I would say yes and no to your point. If I have to take Stella McCartney as an example, she set pretty much set up a brand based on that. I mean,
But she's been literally the only one.
yeah,
of
it's
us
true.
in
I don't know. It's true, and catching up with it has been really, late in the game for most of them. But if you look at it now, I mean, all of them are thriving onto that. I mean, the Caring Group has been signing, a chart in terms of their production leading up to 2024. Every single brand is working on the campaign. I mean, I just saw Florence campaign is all about sustainability. Adidas is too. So, I mean, I think everyone has been made. I think all of us have contributed to the fact of, not bringing enough awareness to what was happening in the world, what brands were doing with, either old stock or so on. So, I think you're doing an amazing business, bringing, also awareness to people and about the fact that clothes have real value, whether they're sentimental, whether, the production, the fit, how they're made, what has, been going into it, is important and should, pass it on, from one to another.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing, was being a designer before, and you must have the same feeling, is we know exactly how products are made. So there's a lot of respect. And when we see, for instance, and we're not saying it's completely bad, but fast fashion brands and, really low brands selling stuff for such low cost, and it's just kind of demeaning on, how the process of how things are made. And I think, this has been such a big eye-opener for all of us, and I think the industry is changing. It's just kind of being a little bit more thoughtful gradually, and I think that's a great thing.
And also about the craftsmanship putting into it. I think people tend to forget that you have ateliers around the world still working on handmade products, on sourcing like very refined materials, and I think sustainability is a big part of it.
Do you think the next generation understand craft though?
I think they're more and more into it. Yeah, I think brands also will advertise more and more about what it means. I mean, if you take a brand like Chanel, they've heavily invested in different ateliers, and so is LVMH and Caring Group. So I think younger generation are actually much more focused than we were back then on sustainability, on craftsmanship, on whatever it takes to make a product, to give back its own value to the product versus the fast fashion environment.
And Tony, I know that LC
Yeah.
have a big initiative.
I was gonna say, I think the biggest part about sustainability is building customer awareness for sustainability. We are trying very hard to build awareness through internal programs, external programs, finding talent with young designers who use sustainable ways. And it's not only sustainable fabric, but also sustainable ways of working, so a better working environment for factory workers, being more conscious with water usage. And I think there's been a taboo with a lot of our China customers especially, that's recycled bottles. I'm not gonna wear recycled bottles, but it's just about educating the customer, actually, this is where it's coming from, the quality is just as good as cashmere you would find elsewhere. And once they get it, and once they understand how good it is to buy sustainable over versus the other way, it's easier and easier to get them to buy into it.
And I just wanted to also ask, because there's a lot of people here, I think, that have their own brands. What is your advice for a brand that's really wanting to kind of like get their stuff out there and get you to have a look at their pieces? I know you must get hundreds and thousands of emails every day, and it's flooding your inbox, and you're just like, don't have another new brand email me. What is your advice to give them?
Well, I think there are many elements to it. I think having a strong point of view is super important, to differentiate yourself from exactly what you said, the millions of other brands who are out there trying to make it happen. The second part I would say is stick to it, stick to your DNA, stick to your cores and values. Because the road is going to be hard. It's not an easy path to be an entrepreneur in a world where big giants, have already, footprints and presence, but along the way, you will find, great retailers and great customers who would understand if you have a very precise and defined DNA. So that would be my take.
I actually love getting new brand deals as well. I think it's very inspiring what everyone has to say about themselves. I agree with Natalie that you should stay true to yourself, have a concept. Even if your collection is 12 SKUs or 15 SKUs, it's better that you're focused and you have a point of view over diluting your collection with pieces you might not need. And again, I agree with you, be consistent, because if one season you do punk and the next season you do feminine, it's very hard for the target customer to follow you. So you want to acquire your customer and keep your customer. And lastly, have fun, enjoy it. It's fashion, we're here because we love it. And just stay true to who you are.
Cool, and before I open it out to the audience to ask any questions, lastly I just wanted to ask for my own kind of curiosity. Dolce & Gabbana, everybody heard about that PR stint. What do you think of a brand, what do you think can happen after that happens to a brand? Because social media is so powerful nowadays. It can tear a brand down in a second. So what do you think, is the future of Dolce & Gabbana, for instance? Lindsay? Can you answer that?
It was something that everyone was talking a lot about and frowning upon, and it was everywhere. It was all over social media, and everyone was talking about it in the office. I'm sure you guys, like the next day, like,
Yeah.
But then I just think, like, because of social media and how fast everything moves, it's just like the world moves on. I mean, it's one of those things people will. I don't know if China can forget, but I think Europe. A few weeks later, I saw like top supermodels like Cindy Crawford or like parading around in Dolce, like in a statement, like "We're with you" kind of thing. So I'm like, wow.
But Tawny, I know that LC kind of had a little bit of a
Yes. So
moment.
I can't talk about that for LC,
Yeah.
but I think what was missing from their apology was a genuine touch to it, personally, just me. And I feel like it will take a lot more for them to really look into the organization, see what their values are, and understand how other cultures work. Because if I take another brand like Gucci, for example, I don't know how big their team is in terms of the Chinese population, but they knew everything. They knew the customs. When they launched their dog Chinese New Year, it was very relatable. Everyone loved it. So it's about working from the inside to really influence the outside, and just being genuine
And
about
being
it.
authentic.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the authenticity came out and it was negative.
Yeah.
So we're coming to a close, and if anybody has any questions to ask.
I completely take your point about customers around sustainability. The customers need to get them, they need to be educated. How much do you factor in sustainability along your supply chain in your purchase decisions?
I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not in the name of the FS straight away, but it's a big part of our strategy currently. So it's definitely something that we're looking at holistically from every perspective. So as Tony mentioned, first of all, it's internally. How do we get set up, for this? And then when we source brands, it's on all levels. Like we look at, whether it's eco-friendly, whether part of the structure meets the requirements. We have charge on child's, work. It's extremely important for us. So all those criteria are taken into account when we source new brands. So it's very important.
And to add on to that, when we source fur, we have to make sure the fur is certified and comes from certified farms. And as Michael said, when we look for new brands, it's very important to understand if they have a sustainable aspect to it, and if not, how they can work it in. We've actually been working with quite a few of our brands, especially denim brands that are not very sustainable, to see how we can rework our backstock. So either taking it and repatching it, or doing some sort of special initiative just to make sure the backstock can resell it and it'll be sustainable in that way.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's more of a question, maybe it's a comment. It's mostly around D&D. Like, I'm not gonna call it Dolce & Gabbana. There's another name for it in the general community. And I think like the comment around it, like people sort of moving on. Certainly there's a whole continent of people that don't feel that way. And I think it's kind of remiss to, like certainly the designers have a certain cachet with certain celebrities that's, long-standing, have long-standing relationships. But I think for brands to survive in this day and age, you have to have a local team to make those local marketing decisions so that they're not stumbling in a big market like China. Because the reality is that they won't forget.
Thank you.
And they're going to account for like 40% of all luxury spending.
Yeah.
So,
any more questions or comments?
I guess talking about localization, I really want to know from a buying perspective, how you buy, since you deal with global and travel retail, or even Lane Corporate, you have travelers who come to Hong Kong to shop. So good numbers. How do you decide what to buy differently while the world is so digital now, in terms of trends?
So for travel retail, there are few aspects we're taking into account in our strategy when buying. So we know our packs of customer extremely well. So it comes back to really identifying your key customers by locations, by regions. For DFS, PRC are a very big part of that customers, but we have location where we have a lot of Japanese people, a lot of Korean in some of them. So we're really vigilant in terms of catering to their needs. Some locations are family driven, like we have a beautiful store in Hawaii, for example. How do you cater to that multi-transgenerational customers who are coming with their kids in the store, their parents, like how do you cater to that? So you need to have the selection going with it. So we keep the same brand, it's just about the breadth and width of the selection that we're gonna work on. Sizing wise also might differ, color wise might differ depending on the customers, and it's really something CRM is helping us with identify.
But talking about also selection, like Lindsay, you have to buy for Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong. So that how's that so different to buying for China or Europe?
Depending on the stores, but for example, our Canton Road store, the customer is 80% mainland Chinese. So in a way, I'm buying for the Chinese consumer. So yeah, a lot of that differs a lot from the local Hong Kong taste. So yeah, especially color that you touched on.
So
they
what
really
are the
love
colours?
red,
Yeah.
Pink, all shades of pink, from fuchsia to pale baby pink. Like the whole, they really love pink.
And what colours do they not like?
Black.
Really? Mustard yellow.
Yeah, brown.
Brown.
They're coming round to brown.
Yeah.
But that's been a 5-year journey that I've seen. Like we couldn't touch brown before, and then we keep buying it because it's really kind of I feel
DNA.
Yeah, that kind of retro feel is very important. So we keep buying it anyway, and then slowly we see the sales picking up.
Yeah.
Especially for like cashmere and stuff, like camel color and things like that. And yeah, it's quite interesting seeing the difference of taste, even within one store. But you can clearly like see the different nationalities within the store, and yeah, you really need to know who you've got in that store so you can fulfill all the needs. Yeah, and then sizing as well. Like sizing has changed a lot. When I first came here, the biggest like everyone was very petite.
No, they were big.
6'38", and now
There's a joke
That's
that
good.
they get richer, they eat more.
That's
I always say
good.
they're tall and big
Yeah.
bone.
Okay.
Like, yeah, so
It's so promising. I like that.
Really
But I like that for my type of business, put it that way.
Yeah.
So we're always struggling with getting bigger sizes in, and yeah, I think diversity is so important for
Yeah.
what we have, and it's sometimes very hard for Asia to have that kind of scope, isn't it? Because we all very similar in
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, if we're talking about the NFS, diversity is, a big chunk of our business. As I said, it's extremely multi-generational. It's not just millennial oriented. So we really have to cater to all those customers, even within one single brand. So if I have to take a Hermes or Gucci or a Saint Laurent, we're really trying to cater to all type of generations within one collection.
Question regarding like social media, how does it really influence your buying, like those digital influencers? Do you work with them after you make your purchase or before you have the forecast on what they buy and you work together with the marketing team? How do you guys deal with that? It's like Instagram and all this fashion influencers nowadays.
So currently for our business, we're working with them after.
Yeah.
And they're not influencing the creative part or the strategy part, but they will help to enhance, once the buy has been done, once it's hitting the store, whether it's local events with them or promoting a single product, we're working with them, on that aspect.
But even in the level of, I'm just saying like in the digital world, the people that you can see, the trend is growing. It's not mainstream yet, and it's not on the catwalk yet, but you guys can see what's coming, and you kind of get influenced by this kind of new culture, this new lifestyle.
Yeah. So we use social media a lot for finding new brands and finding what the trend is. If you see that pink Jacquemus jacket is being worn by so many influencers now, then you actually will see it a lot in the next few collections. So it's a good inspiration tool.
It's a good indicator, but business-wise, I would use it after.
You get into the client's mind after it's been done.
Exactly.
So that's the fashion, and that's what people do.
I guess it's hard for designers not to recreate a similar look because it's so profitable, and it's going to sell, and it's,
I found it interesting with the influencers that we work with. I always thought that they would just wear anything that you give them, because like sometimes we have the pieces that we invest in very heavy quantity and we really want to promote it, and we'll propose it, and then they will just refuse.
Really?
Yeah, so they actually they really have their own minds. That was what I found interesting. They will kind of really pick it themselves and then reject if they want to, and then make sure that they are wearing what they feel reflects themselves and they feel comfortable in. So that was something that I didn't realize until I was working with the marketing team, and they kind of shared that with me.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, in any of your careers, have you ever got it really wrong for the season, and how did you deal with that? And how did you jump back and not
That's a
fall
good
behind?
I think everybody, right?
I'm not sure I'm allowed to answer that question.
I'll give you a mini example. So we were at a showroom, and then there was this jacket that I thought was the key item of the season, because bomber jackets have been a trend. It was 2-3 years ago. So I put 3 times the amount of quantity that I would usually put in any jacket. And at that time, I pushed it to marketing, PR, everyone, and I said, you have to push this jacket for me. And then at the end of the day, my sell-through was quite soft. So we just went through that stock, liquidated it, made sure it was in all the right places, made sure in terms of visual presentation, it was very apparent. So we did everything we could, and then we spoke to the brand to see if they could buy back some of the stock. But I mean, in my point of view, there are bound to be some best sellers, some slow sellers, but it's just how you control the slow selling and how you can turn it around that makes a difference.
So do you guys always work with the consignment orders, like you get thing and if it's not working anymore, then you can just help them, it doesn't work always that way?
No.
So if something like this happens, how do you deal with that?
It depends on your relationship with the vendor. Yeah, and what you can do to help that stock. Sometimes it might just be internal, lots of product training. Or, yeah, just a lot of product training, a lot of pushing it and getting the staff to clientele it to your customers, mix and matching, just different creative ways to push product.
So in that instance, were you able to push the jackets out to the customers?
What they're selling at HULA.
Our outlet to the big
South Horizon.
No more questions?
I just have one last question.
Okay.
So back to the technology. So you've mentioned a bit about like B2C. So, but my question is about B2B business. So how do you think? So I'm working for an online showroom, and do you think it can change the game of Fashion Week and like having those like online platforms to do wholesale business? Do you think it might?
So, in my honest opinion, I still like to go and see the product. I think it's extremely important to understand how they made, like, you know, what the story is about. I think it helps some remote, you know, retail shops that don't necessarily have the financials to go all the way to Paris, Milan, London. So on a smaller scale, I think it's definitely useful. My entity, I guess, is too big to make, you know, such assumptions and put, you know, so much money into it without having seen the product, understanding what it is all about. But it's definitely is important for to sustain smaller businesses across the world who don't necessarily have the financials to travel, you know, every single fashion week, to have replenishment system also. Sometimes it really helps. So yes, it is useful, and that's why digital is so useful nowadays.
For us, we worked with a company called ODRE before, where they have these really cool headsets. You put them on, and it's like you're at the fashion show. And they have an online showroom where it's like a 360-degree angle, and you can zoom in, zoom out on all the details. But I agree with Maggie that I like to touch the fabric, and I like to see on the model in front of me. I'd like to put it against my body to see how long it is, because for Asians, it's a lot about the length as well. But if somehow miraculously you can input some type of fabric injection into that online showroom, I think that kind of solves a little bit of it as well. But I know a lot of companies who do like to use online showrooms just because of the limitation of travel and budgets.
I guess it would be good to get a general idea, but to do the actual buy would be really tough. I think, like for Asia, we have to be careful because sometimes there's very petite frames, so you need to be careful about even the weight of the material. If you can't try it on, you could make a big mistake. Like I bought very heavy coats or even knitwear where because sometimes I buy through photographs if I can't travel all the time. And I have made mistakes where it's just it weighs a ton, and
You can lose
the
weight
body
also.
frame cannot carry it. It's really uncomfortable. So yeah, I think physically being there is important for not making those mistakes.
Any more questions? No? Thank you so much. Oh, you
Oh,
do?
maybe I do, because we're staying in the showroom on. I'm going to go back to the topic of sustainability. And we're talking about reuse, recycling, renewal. I want to talk about rent, which is kind of an RE word, but it's not a we rent. But we can see what's happening with rent roaming and how that's growing, and it's becoming very much part of our lives. Amazon maybe to someone most of us here, and particularly in America, absolutely everybody. How important is it for you guys? We're looking at DFS, non-profit. It's all possible in different business models to bring this into your stores and into your environment. Really interesting to do this because it's international. So when I get there, I'm going to that event and I can rent and I can drop it back as I go. How amazing. And it's not limiting to Lane Crawford Union, but it's like we can see the growth in this area. We can see the growth in sustainable fashion. Are you guys thinking about it?
We'll get there, definitely. We'll get there. Whether it's having HULA in the store, whether it's having Run the Runway or some type of similar business. Yeah, I mean it's something that we're thinking about.
Not yet for Lane Crawford, but we are working with Luxarity, which is another organization as well that's connected to the group. So sustainability and how to reuse product is on our mind as well.
Any more questions? If not, I'm going to say thank you to these three lovely ladies. For such busy schedule, so thank you for coming. And yeah, everybody can now mingle and try and have a speak to these girls and yeah, and enjoy. Please have some food and drink.
Thank you.